Rain-slicked leaves clung to mud beneath K9 Titan's paws as he sat motionless, eyes fixed on the abandoned cabin at the edge of Briarwood Forest. Detective Elena Mark's breath fogged the night air, heart hammering as each minute stretched into an eternity. Somewhere inside, 12-year-old Sam Porter was waiting, alone, scared, perhaps already injured. The forest whispered secrets, every snapping twig and distant howl twisting anxiety into sharp, metallic fear. No one spoke, no one moved. Only Titan's growl shivered through the shadows, a warning and a promise. Somewhere beyond that shattered threshold, the truth waited. The wind rattled the skeletal branches of the forest as Detective Elena Marks crouched behind a moss-covered log, water dripping from her hood into the soil. Her flashlight cut through the darkness in a narrow beam, illuminating the twisted roots and puddles, reflecting the stormy night like fractured glass. Every instinct screamed that the missing child, Sam Porter, was somewhere beyond her vision, trapped in some nightmare she couldn't yet imagine. Titan, her K9 partner, remained perfectly still, ears twitching, nostrils flaring. His posture was tense but unwavering, a sentinel guarding an invisible boundary. Elena had worked with Titan for 3 years. She knew his hesitations weren't mere caution. They were calculations, reading danger she couldn't yet see. "Titan," she whispered, the sound swallowed by the wind. "What do you see?" The dog didn't move. His gaze locked on the abandoned cabin, just beyond the thinning trees. Its paint was long gone, exposing warped, gray wood. Windows gaped like empty eyes, and the door hung slightly askew, squeaking with each gust. This cabin wasn't just abandoned. It carried the stink of neglect, decay, and something far darker. Elena's radio crackled behind her, bringing her back to the perimeter teams. "Marks, any sign of him?" "Not yet," she said, pressing her back against the wet log. "But Titan's on point. I think we're close." The storm intensified. Rain slashed across her face, water pooling along the collar of her coat. She could smell it now, the dank, sour tang of the forest floor, mixed with a faint coppery scent that set her teeth on edge. Titan growled low, a sound more felt in the chest than heard. She followed his gaze, heart tightening as she noticed something in the cabin's doorway, a shadow that didn't belong to the wind. "Easy, easy," she murmured, drawing her gun. It fell heavier in the rain, but the weight reassured her. Every step forward was deliberate, careful. The ground was slippery, and one wrong move could send them both sprawling and give whoever, or whatever, inside a chance to disappear. As they approached, Titan suddenly bolted to side, forcing Elena to pivot just in time to see him pressed against a fallen tree. His teeth were bared, and he growled again, a warning reverberating through the wet silence. Elena's pulse doubled. Inside the cabin, faint movement caught her eye. A flicker of color, a small hand against the warped wood. "Sam," she called softly. No answer, just a whimper, muffled, desperate. Her mind raced. Sam Porter had been missing for almost 24 hours. The town had searched every road, creek, and abandoned lot. Now, in the middle of the thunderstorm, the child scent, blood maybe, or just fear, was mixing with the rain, almost lost to the elements. Titan's nose twitched, head low to the ground, tail stiff. Elena stepped closer, ignoring the rotten smell of mold and decay that seemed to seep from the cabin itself. Then she saw it. Footprints leading toward the back, smaller than any adult's, muddy by rain but unmistakable. And beside them, a smear of red, dark, glistening. Her stomach twisted. Not enough to scream yet, but enough to warn her. A noise came from inside the cabin. A shuffling, a dragging sound like someone or something was moving deliberately, trying to hide. Elena froze, calculating. She had a choice. Call for backup and risk giving whoever was inside a chance to escape, or go in herself with Titan. She made her choice. The cabin door creaked louder as she pushed it open. Inside, the darkness was almost absolute, broken only by occasional lightning flashes through the broken windows. The smell hit her fully, decay, mildew, and something iron-tinged that made her stomach churn. Titan padded silently ahead, ears swiveling, muscles taut. "Sam," she whispered, voice steady. "It's Detective Marks." "We're here to help you." A cough, weak and frightened, answered from somewhere near the back wall. Titan's growl became a low rumble of warning. Elena edged forward, gun raised, flashlight scanning every corner. Broken furniture, overturned chairs, and scattered belongings filled the space. Nothing moved, and yet the sense of presence was suffocating. Then she saw the eyes, small, wide, terrified, peeking from behind a rotting couch. Sam Porter. His clothes were soaked, smeared with mud and grime, hair plastered to his forehead. Relief should have been immediate, but it was tangled with something else. The sudden awareness that they were not alone. From the shadows, a figure emerged, an adult, face obscured by a hood, hands clenched tight. "Stay back," the voice said, low, steady, almost calm. But there was menace behind it, the kind that makes your skin prickle even when you're soaked and shivering. Titan growled louder, hackles raised. The figure didn't move closer, but neither did he retreat. Elena had trained for encounters like this, but training never felt like the real thing. A child, scared, a storm howling outside, and an unknown threat in a decaying cabin. "Who's he?" Sam whimpered. I don't know," Elena said, keeping her gun leveled. "But I need you to stay quiet. Titan's with me." The figure shifted, almost imperceptibly. "You don't know him," he said, "and you shouldn't get in the way." Something about the voice made Elena hesitate. Calm, controlled, but chilling. And then she noticed a glint in his hand, metal, maybe a weapon, maybe a tool. Either way, it wasn't friendly. Titan growled again, stepping slightly in front of Elena, teeth bared. The dog's warning was clear, threat imminent. And then, almost like a whisper, the adult figure said something else. "You shouldn't have come here, detective." Elena felt the chill of ice in her veins. In that moment, the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm inside the cabin. A confrontation she hadn't anticipated, and a truth about Briarwood that had been buried under secrets, lies, and broken trust. Titan's growl cut through the tense silence, and the figure's eyes flicked toward the dog. Elena took a slow, careful step forward. The first move had been made. The night was far from over. Somewhere, hidden beneath the wreckage of the cabin, Sam trembled. And Elena knew the next few minutes would define everything. Who lived, who died, and what dark secrets of Briarwood would finally see the light. The rain had eased to a soft drizzle, but the cabin smelled of wet wood and fear. Titan's paws splashed quietly in the puddles that coated the warped floorboards, his ears swiveling at every tiny sound. Detective Elena Marks kept her gun raised, eyes scanning, flashlight cutting through the gloom. Sam huddled behind her, trembling, clutching a soaked backpack. The figure from before didn't move, just watched, hood pulled low, face still hidden. Every instinct told Elena that whoever this was, they weren't here by accident. She took a careful step forward. "Who are you?" she demanded, voice calm but firm. "What's going on here?" The figure's eyes glinted briefly, then disappeared beneath the hood. "You shouldn't trust what you see," the voice said. "Not everything in this town is as it seems." Elena's pulse quickened. She had walked into abandoned buildings before, faced armed suspects, and dealt with desperate criminals. But this was different. There was an edge here, something personal. Titan growled low, pressing closer to her, sensing the tension. "Step aside," Elena said, shifting her weight. "I need to get him out." She nodded toward Sam. The figure's hand twitched. A faint glimmer of steel caught in the light. Titan stiffened. And then, in a sudden motion, the figure turned and bolted toward the back of the cabin. Elena shouted. But the figure disappeared into a crawl space under a loose floorboard. Titan barked, sprinting toward the hidden entrance. Elena followed, heart hammering. Rainwater ran down her face, mingling with sweat. She dropped to her knees beside Titan, peering into the narrow opening. It was dark, damp, the air thick with mildew. "Stay with Sam," she said, eyes never leaving the crawl space. Sam nodded silently, lips pressed together, wide-eyed. Elena gritted her teeth, pulling a flashlight from her coat, and squeezed herself into the tight passage. The crawl space was a maze of shadows. Every movement stirred the smell of rot and wet earth. Titan's paws padded silently beside her, nose low, guiding her through the twists and turns. Then she saw it, a trail of small, muddy footprints leading deeper into the hidden space. And beside them, faint streaks of red. Elena's stomach clenched. She had trained for horrors, but seeing them up close, smelling them, feeling them, that was different. She pushed forward, every step deliberate. Titan's growl rumbled again, low and steady, warning her that danger was near. Suddenly, the crawl space opened into a hidden room, carved from the roots and soil beneath the cabin. It was small, suffocating, and in the center, a faint shape curled on the floor. Sam! Elena rushed forward, dropping to her knees. Sam! Are you hurt? He flinched but didn't cry. His clothes were muddy, sleeves torn. I'm okay, he whispered, voice trembling. He told me to stay quiet. Titan nudged Sam gently with his nose, letting the boy know he was safe. Elena's heart surged with relief, but she couldn't let her guard down. She turned toward the crawlspace opening, shining her flashlight. The figure was gone. Elena rose, scanning every corner, feeling the tension in her muscles. Something didn't add up. Sam had been here for hours, or maybe longer, and yet no one else had been in the cabin? Someone had hidden him. And for what purpose? Sam's voice broke through her thoughts. He said my mom, she wouldn't find me. Elena swallowed hard. Sam, we're getting you out. I promise. They retraced their steps back to the main cabin floor, and Elena helped Sam over the warp boards. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the forest damp and glistening. Titan ran ahead, nose to the ground, checking for lingering threats. Elena kept close to Sam, scanning the tree line. Then the radio crackled again. Marks! Any sign? Found him, Elena said, voice steady but low. Bring the medics. He's alive, but we've got more work to do. The town search team arrived moments later, drenched but focused. Sam ran into the arms of the local sheriff. Tears and relief mixing, but Elena's mind was already racing, tracing back to the figure in the cabin. Whoever had hidden Sam had planned this. There were motives, secrets, and maybe betrayal, tangled in ways she hadn't yet uncovered. Back at the station, Sam gave a statement. Hesitant at first, his words slowly revealed fragments. A man who had known his family, someone who had been hiding something about the forest, the town, and its history. His description was vague but chilling. Someone morally gray, operating in shadows, willing to manipulate children to protect. What? Elena stayed late that night, reviewing maps and old case files. Briarwood had its share of secrets. Missing persons, unexplained accidents, whispered rumors. And now, another layer had been added. A figure bold enough to hide a child in a cabin no one noticed, for reasons no one understood. She lit a cigarette, letting the smoke curl into the dim office light. Titan lay at her feet, head resting on her boot. The dog's eyes, ever alert, followed her movements. Elena's mind kept circling back to the figure, the hidden motives, and the unspoken truths that might shake the town. Then she remembered something, a neighbor's report of strange deliveries to the abandoned cabin over the past month. Packages, dropped quietly at night, items that didn't make sense. Something or someone had been preparing for this for a long time. Elena realized with a tightening in her chest that saving Sam was only the beginning. The story wasn't over. It was just unfolding, and the moral lines were already blurred. People she trusted might not be who they seemed, and the quiet, picturesque town of Briarwood was hiding a darkness she was only beginning to understand. Titan shifted at her feet, and Elena knew the night wasn't done testing them. Every shadow, every secret, every moral compromise awaited, and the storm that had driven them into the forest hadn't ended. It had only changed shape, moving through Briarwood's heart, waiting for the next move. The morning fog rolled over Briarwood like a veil, softened the edges of the forest and the town alike. Detective Elena Marks sat in her car on the edge of the abandoned cabin, Titan resting beside her, ears twitching at every distant sound. Sleep had been impossible. Questions gnawed at her. Who had taken Sam? Why the secrecy? And, most unsettling, how deep did this conspiracy go? Elena pulled her coat tighter as she scanned the cabin. Rain had washed away some evidence overnight, But the clues that remained told a story of preparation and obsession. Footprints, torn fabric, scuffed floorboards. It was all deliberate, calculated, designed to hide something bigger than a simple child abduction. Her radio crackled. "Marks, we got a tip. Someone saw a vehicle leaving the outskirts of the forest last night. Plates registered to a local. Name's Jonathan Price. Jonathan Price, the town councilman. Publicly respected, privately feared for his ruthless ambition." Elena's stomach sank. Price had access, influence, and, judging by the cabin, patience. She stepped out of the car, Titan at her side, muscles coiled, senses sharp. The mist clung to the trees as she approached the forest edge, flashlight cutting through the gray. Titan's nose twitched, scanning the air, ears perked for the faintest rustle. Minutes later, a vehicle emerged from the fog, headlights dim, moving cautiously. Titan growled, low in warning. Elena followed on foot, heart hammering. The car turned into a clearing near the riverbank and stopped. Price stepped out. Phone pressed his ear. "Detective Marks," Elena called, voice steady despite the fear tightening her chest. "Step away from the vehicle. Now." Price froze, then slowly lowered the phone. His face was calm, controlled, but the eyes betrayed calculation. "Ah, detective. I wonder when you'd arrive," he said, voice smooth. "You found the child, but that doesn't mean you understand the full picture." "Full picture? You kidnapped a child. That's not a picture, it's a crime," Elena said, her gun raised. Titan growled in agreement. Price shook his head, almost pityingly. "Sam? No. He's a pawn. A warning, a lever. If anyone in Briarwood tries to interfere with my plans, they'll know I'm capable." Elena's heart raced. The pieces began to fit together. The abandoned cabin, the careful hiding, the moral ambiguity of those around her. And then a thought hit her like ice water. Someone on her own team could have tipped Price off. Betrayal. Broken trust. The realization made her stomach twist. Titan lunged suddenly, barking, and Price's attention shifted. A hidden compartment in the trunk of the car opened, revealing bags and boxes of documents, surveillance equipment, and a small, soaked notebook belonging to Sam. Elena moved closer, eyes scanning the items. The notebook contained notes, drawings, and even names, citizens of Briarwood who had been silently monitored. A network, hidden in plain sight, orchestrated by Price, manipulating events for years. The abduction wasn't random. It was the opening move of something far more sinister. "You've been watching him?" Elena demanded, voice trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. Price smirked. "Careful, detective. You don't know the half of it. I only protect what needs protecting myself, my interests, the town. Sometimes it requires sacrifices." Elena's grip on her gun tightened. Sacrifices don't include children. A flash of movement behind Price caught her eye. Another figure. Jonathan's assistant. A woman she had trusted. Now stepping into fog with a gun aimed directly at Elena. Betrayal confirmed. Someone close had been complicit. Feeding Price information. Covering tracks. Titan growled, body tense. Sam's presence, even from afar, could be sensed, the dog's loyalty unwavering. Elena knew she had to act. Quickly, or both she and Sam would pay the price. With a sudden move, she dropped to the side, rolling behind a tree as the gun fired. Titan sprang into action, teeth snapping, forcing the assistant to retreat. Price cursed, eyes wide with momentary panic. "Elena!" Sam's voice rang out from a hiding spot near the riverbank. He had run to safety during the chaos, but the tension of the night was etched on his small face. Elena made a calculated decision, moving swiftly to cover Sam. Titan at her side, they ran through the mist, Price's shouts echoing behind them. The forest, which had felt suffocating before, now became a labyrinth of protection. Every tree, every shadow worked in their favor. Eventually, they emerged near the town's edge. Backup had arrived. Team members who hadn't been compromised. Price and his assistant were apprehended, their schemes laid bare. But Elena knew this was only the beginning. Briarwood's secrets ran deep, and trust had been fractured. Sam ran into her arms, soaked and trembling but alive. "I knew you'd find me," he whispered. Elena held him tight. Titan helped too, she said, glancing down at the dog, whose eyes glimmered with quiet pride. Later, in the aftermath, Briarwood slowly returned to its sleepy rhythm. People whisper about the storm in the forest, the child who disappeared, the detective who brought him back. But Elena knew better. The darkness had been exposed, if only a sliver. The town and she herself would carry the scars of betrayal, secrets, and moral compromise for years. Sitting at her desk that evening, Titan curled at her feet, Elena lit a cigarette, staring out at the fading sunset. There was relief, yes, but also understanding. In a place where trust could be bought and loyalties twisted, the fight never truly ended. Every shadow held a secret, every corner a story. And sometimes, saving a child wasn't just about bravery. It was about navigating the gray between right and wrong. She exhaled slowly. "We did it," she murmured to Titan. The dog's tail thumped once against the floor, a quiet affirmation. Outside, the town of Briarwood slept, unaware of how close the shadows had come. But in that quiet resolution, there was something profound. The child was safe, the betrayers revealed, and the moral lines clarified, even if only temporarily. The storm had passed, leaving scars, truth, and a fragile hope. And in the corner of the office, Titan's gaze met hers, unwavering. They had faced the darkness and survived.